Good afternoon to everybody. Okay, we can start now. Thank you for so much. Today I have the pleasure and honor to present, I can say, our colleague from Portugal, a journalist, Amilkar Kореia. He is going to give us a lecture on Portugal democracy and journalism. It's a very interesting topic, especially because tomorrow Portugal will celebrate one of its most important national holidays. It's a day when Portuguese remember of their revolution against the so-called new state or Salazar's regime. And the whole story about journalism and democracy and politics is very important in that context. So, because Mr. Kореia will say by itself a few words about him and his career, I will give him now the opportunity to start.
Okay, first of all, it's I don't need it. I have a strong voice, but thank you very much for the invitation, Raјko. It's a big and huge pleasure to be here to talk about my country, about politics, about democracy, and about journalism. As Raјko said before, we celebrate tomorrow our most important date and event in the 20th century. It was what we call the Coronation Revolution. In those times, we need to celebrate more and more that, because in the last elections we had a not so good surprise with 20% of votes in a populist party, and that party is against all the spirit of a Coronation Revolution. So it's an honor. So sorry. I would love to do it in Serbian, but I only know three words. So let's go on. Dobar dan. I'm a senior reporter at Publica. Publica is the most influential and most important in print edition and online online edition. I was journalist. I was editor. I was editor in chief twice, and I was still April the deputy editor in chief for digital editions. I was the head of a digital. That means I was the owner of all that stuff, social media, newsletters, data journalism, podcasts. Is a terrible mess. It was my work during the last 5 years, always traveling between Porto, where I lived, and Lisbon, where was the main newsroom. I have two offices and two houses, two towns. I'm happy with my life now, because I'm working less and less, and I'm traveling, and I'm Belgrade because of that. In another case, it was impossible to be here. So I think this is Public. This is Public homepage. We have two print editions. One edition for the north of Portugal, Porto, and other edition for in the south to Lisbon. We have local issues, difference. In the north, we prefer to talk about Porto, Braga, Aveiro, the towns from the center, from the north, and in the south the opposite. We talk about Algarve, Alentejo, Lisbon. It's true that print editions are not selling so well. It's true in every world, except maybe in South Asia. And we have a site, we have an application, we have all those things in contemporary years. So let's begin. When Raјko invited me to do this, start thinking about the date, 24 of April, and the ties and the links between the history of the Portuguese press and the most important moments of our history and our historical political history. So the first newspapers they began to appear with a junction between the crown, the Spanish and the Portuguese crown, because our dynasty reached a end, and the king of Spanish was married a Portuguese princess. So we and Spanish were together, unfortunately, during 16 years. So the first newspapers appear in Portugal with a patriotic message to spread the news and ideas about how to conquer the independence, how to be again Portugal. It's very curious. It was in the 17th century. They were not. They were periodical. They are regular. So we can call it the beginning of the Portuguese press. They spread a message from patriotic thinkers, but at the same time they mix it with news from abroad, from other countries of Europe, trying to join a cosmopolitan view of what happened in those days in Europe. The second moment is French invasions. We have a lot of French invasions. What happened? It was truly important for the development of press, and that it's funny that the press. These newspapers, they were printed in Paris or in London, and they traveled by boat unknown to Portugal, to Brazil, under all the principal towns of our overseas imperium, just like a link nowadays. It's funny because of that, because they were people read the newspaper, they borrow the newspaper, and the same newspaper was around the world, spreading once again the idea of the need to force the French leaving the country. It's not about this time. It's not about a space of opinion of confrontation of ideas. It was mainly, frankly, an uprising against the French invaders. In other hand, we have them. They were very linked with Masonic ties in French and in England. The French were the invaders, but there was some people thinking that the French was the right inspiration because of extinction of feudalism, because of the ideas of the French Revolution, and so. And there was another current, other people based in London who of course they prefer the crown. They were against the idea of Republica in Portugal, but it was very intense in the producing of news, and we have a lot of newspapers, and as I said before, they were crossing all the continents and all the places where Portuguese lived. So I truly believe there's a link between politics and journalism, and then journalism was important again when we have a civil war between liberals and absolutists, and then the journalism and newspapers were very important to support liberal ideas of constitutionalism against absolutism. It was a very rude war, but journalism was again very important. Let's control the time. Okay, I'm fine. So the third moment is the beginning. It's the end of the monarchy and the beginning of the republic. The Republicans tried so many times to replace monarchy. We killed the king and the prince. It was common and normal everywhere, as in Serbian. Yeah, okay, and once again. The Republican newspapers, they contributed to fight against royal family, exposing some scandals and lapses and errors where they were involved, and once again they spread some modern ideas of other countries in Europe, mainly coming from Paris. The political and cultural links were always between Portugal and Paris during mainly the 1819 and the beginning of the 20th century. Even the years before the 25th of April, during our Salazarism, new state, new fascism regime, all the people that run away from regime, from Marius Soares to all the social democrats and socialists, they went to Paris. Well, Paris was the center of exilium for so many people, not only from Portugal. So after the Republic. The Republic years, they were very unstable. They began they existed between 1910 and 1926. We have during that we have a military regime between 26 and 33. And 33, it was the beginning of dictatorship of Salazar. And it was 40 years of a long dictatorship. We were the Albany of fascism, more or less like that. We were like Enver Hoxha was the less important and probably the most stupid of all the communism era. Salazar was the poorest and the poorest guy in all the far right and fascism regimes in Europe. All the books and the newspapers, they were submitted to prior censorship. A woman, the women, they were not allowed to work except nurseries and teachers. There was no rights for women. We have our jails were full of political prisoners. Torture were very common. We have a bad, well-known concentration camp in Cape Verde in Africa. It was a sadly regime, very, very, very closed, very closed, very frightening, very dark, and at the same time very proud of our past, the fake imperium about our colonies, a fake imperium with possessions, colonies in Africa, in Asia, in China, and Macau nowadays. We were small in portion and small in ambition and capacity of thinking. And at the same time, the propaganda is about a big country. So let's go to the Carnation Revolution. It happens 50 years ago. It was a beautiful process. It was led by young captains, young militaries who were fed up with stupid and disastrous, tremendous disastrous war in Africa, Mozambique, Angola, and mainly in Guinea-Bissau. And Guinea-Bissau was our Vietnam. It's the humidity, the climate, it's the forest. It's a difficult territory to fight. We didn't win nothing. We were the last country in the world to approve and to put an end to the colonization. It's a shame. But this revolution was so beautiful. And journalism plays a very important role in the revolution. All the newspapers reproduced 3, 4, and 5 editions during these days, and there were all some reporters. They spend all the day reporting. At the left, one of my former colonies and is a hero of journalism, Lim Gomes. He worked with me in Public. I worked with Lim in Public. And on the left, Alfredo Cunha was a young photographer. And the most well-known photos of 25 of April, they are photos from him, because he spent all the days photographing, and the country stopped to watch the news, to read the papers, and the images of the news on the television, they are absolutely amazing, because you can see the journalists smoking and reading the press release from the militaries. Yeah, and it's very funny. And it was a party. It was a party. People went to the militaries. They occupied the capital, Lisbon. But the civil, when the civil people went to the streets, and they were together. They were together. They belong to this journey. Why incarnation? I don't. I think it's. I don't know if it's a myth or a real story. Probably it's 75% real. It was a woman with this flower shop. In this day, in the 25th of April, no one entered the shop to buy flowers. She closed the shop. They go through the streets. A soldier asked her a cigarette. She answered, "My son, I don't have cigarettes, but I have carnations. Do you want a carnation?" "Yes, I want a carnation." And the soldier put the carnation on the weapon. And after that, all the soldiers use it, and that starts a label, a image, postcard, and so on. The Portuguese election was important because it happens before the Spanish transition. Spanish didn't have a revolution as Portugal, a transition, and the states were very worried about the future of Portugal, because Portugal, meanwhile, Salazar was a dictatorship. He was neutral between the Second World War, but he entered NATO, he entered OTAN in the 50s. Okay, so it's diplomacy.
Portugal was a founding state of
Yeah,
1945.
yeah. So the states were very, very upset and worried because who knows? A country, another Cuba in the south of Europe, inside the NATO, it will be a problem. It will be a mess. And the three guys on the middle, they were very dangerous to the states. On the left, we have the Major Otelo. He was the brain of the operation, the military operation. He liked very much Fidel and Che Guevara. He was a little bit crazier. He founded, after the democratization of the country, a military movement, a terrorist movement. Okay. On the middle, Vasco Gonçalves, he was our Stalinist representative. Okay, he was a military very near the Communist Party, and the Communist Party was very, very strong. The leader of Communist Party, Cunhal, he was very influential in Moscow. He had closer ties to Politburo in Moscow. And the third was a general. He was moderate, but he was also near communist. And in the time cover, he was General Spínola. He was the first president of Portugal after the Carnation Revolution, because he was the most important military in Portugal. He founded, he created a terrorist movement from right, with many attempts and killing people. So it was the confusion after 1774. Can you ask something? Oh, no, okay. So it was a huge transition from a black and white country with fake dreams of an imperial, very poor, with people running away from the colony war, running away from misery, living and working in the suburbs, neighborhoods of Paris and Geneva and Brazil, Venezuela, and it was the beginning of everything. It was the beginning of freedom of press. It was the beginning of a new era for human rights, for political rights, for women's rights. It was another kind of societies. So I joined some examples of changes in we have time?
Yeah.
In journalism. It was the end of censorship. We had a lot of newspapers and radios start function. Plurality was very, very, very important. Of course, we had political newspapers. We have our Pravda, and we have capitalistics and reactionary newspapers, of course. But we have professionalization, we have press freedom, we have another standards of quality, the trainers, ethical and professional journalists. Before 1974, it's a story that oldest journalists tell sometimes. They went to the press conference, on their seats, they have an envelope with some money inside. So it was the end of those dark times. This is the positive side. Well, this, of course, there was a struggle, great struggle in the beginning of the revolution, because the people from left exploit, exploit all the journalists. They thought they were from the right wing. The owners tried to the people from the right, were owners of newspapers, tried to limit the plurality, but there was a big struggle. But truly, frankly, we start looking at journalism as a social and political function and role important to consolidate democracy. And we start believing that the quality of democracy depends of the quality of news, of journalism. And people like Marius Suazi was very important in those times, because he do not allow us to forbidden the Communist Party, and he do not allow us to forbidden the far right parties. He spent his life looking for freedom of speech, and even in those odd days, he fight a lot for that. And the journalisms and newspapers, they must be grateful for those generation of politics that they have in mind a model of plurality and not a sectarian view, not a polarization view. They look at parliament and they look at society as a mix of mixed opinions, different thoughts, with democratic patterns, of course. So, and here we are now, and now we have, I think it's the same everywhere. I don't know enough about Serbian press to talk about Serbian press. Even yesterday, I have some friends here, I made some questions, and it's difficult to understand. The answer was, I don't give a shit, I'm sorry for the word, I don't give a shit for TVs and newspapers. I prefer some channels on Telegram. They are more free than the others. I can't read Serb, so I don't know the reality of newspapers in Serbian. But I'm not here to talk about Serbian newspapers and quality and freedom. But the problems are more or less the same everywhere. We have the misinformation and fake news, and this can undermine public trust. We saw it during the pandemic years. In one hand, people who need to know more about problems, they look for the best sources, and they go to the best sources as they go to the the best hospital, looking for something to the pain. With the misinformation, we realize it with Trump, or we realize it with Bolsonaro, and we have now some examples in Portugal. Our far right are trying to do that. It's very easy to do that. Intelligence artificial is very useful for this. So the industry outlet are in crisis because we are not sustainable, and that means less quality and independence of politics. Yes. We have two newspapers that they were owned by a Portuguese entrepreneur whose son, his father was assistant of Viktor Orban. He bought Euronews some months ago. We don't know where the money came from. We have some newspapers in Portugal in the last years bought by Chinese enterprises and enterprises from Angola. It was during a process of privatization of the biggest enterprises. They were very useful. I'm glad to work in Pública because the Pública is owned by, ironically, the biggest economic group, the capitalist one in Portugal. It's a Sonai. Sonai, they have a lot of enterprises. They are everywhere. I don't think, probably they regret to have the newspaper because the newspaper is they don't profit. With the newspaper, we do well. We everything that we want. They only ask, don't spend so much money. I think we are important for images of the group, but we are very strange inside the group who wants money with food, with the big malls, with shopping centers and industrial investments. But it's ironic. It's ironic because the left wing in Portugal, so mainly the communists, they when talk about my newspapers, they say, okay, it's they belong to the capitalist enterprise, the capitalist group, but that I prefer that we had a sad story 2 months ago when the biggest news corporation in Portugal was sold to economic fund in Bahamas, and no one knows who owned the fund, what they are looking for was so we have that problem, the problem of the ownership, of course, of the enterprises. But ironically, paradoxically, we have not that problem with till yet, because they don't do instructions and they respect our editorial autonomy. That's the problems of news today. We don't have enough revenues from the print editions. No one buys print newspapers anymore. We are selling 10,000 print editions per day. It don't pay the print costs and the distributions. The heads are moving to social media. They are moving to internet, and in the internet, we were the first trying to adopt models of paywalls and subscriptions, but we live in a country with where the subscription is not so popular and traditional, and that is popular in tradition in the Anglo-Saxonic countries. We can see in the movies during the morning a guy, child labor, with a newspaper, throwing the newspaper and the milk. In Portugal is not so current. So, but we are trying to grow up in subscription, because that's our future. Your struggle to be I don't say profitable, but very at minimum sustainable. The challenge is very, 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 very difficult nowadays for journalism, because we went to a model of producing 2 print editions, 2 websites. Inside the website, we have a lot of sub-websites, sub-labels. We have notifications. We have more than 20 newsletters. We have more than 20 podcasts. We have to be concerned with different ways of distribution news, because como é que se diz sardinas de jornais? Never mind. We must distribute ourselves, our work, and to reach someone with 15 or 18 years is very different from the language we need to reach some with my age. So we need TikTok, we need Facebook, we need Reddit, we need how to control the best language. And the internet, it's a crazy wall, and this crazy wall is a crazy wall against objectivity, against news, against stories. And look at the algorithms of the some social media. The beginning of a third world war, it will be for the algorithm of Facebook as important as this lecture here in Belgrade. because for some of them, and particularly for Facebook, the concept of news and the concept of stories destroyed all the concept of news and story for us news producer or for you news readers. And I'm afraid with the future of the social media, because I think they will try in Google, for example, to control and to decrease the reach of the news, unless we pay for that. And the social media, I think they will do the same. And chats, artificial intellectual IA will do the same, because we'll kill the link. When you will ask a chat about what to do in Belgrade night, which is the best place to go in Belgrade night, they will not recommend a link from a site or a television in Serbia. They will recommend, I don't know why, I don't know what the machine will learn. So we need to try business. We can't give up to try and found financial sustainability. That's the base of independent journalism, and without independent journalism we only have propaganda. Propaganda is not journalism, and I don't believe in all journalists. I don't believe in all the newspapers. I don't believe in everything. We must compare. We must take a look on the eye. Take a look upside down a newspaper or the news outlet. But I believe this, and I believe that the quality of democracy depends on quality of the media, and both they depend on the quality of the civil society and the quality of the readers, and our will to fight for our right to democracy and a civil society with quality. Thanks.
Thank
It was
you.
boring. Sorry, talking.
No.
I thought they like story. They like history. They are history for them are the best subject. So okay, I hope I was not so boring.
No, it was really interesting. I mean, especially for me, because I had the opportunity to learn so many new information, especially when it comes to the period after the revolution and the importance, the importance of the journalism in all those processes. So now we can start with questions. Mr. Ratz.
Prvo pitanje vezano za portugalsku istoriju, a malo je van konteksta. Da li postoje informacije kad je fado nastala? Fado, music.
I must check it. I think fado. Do you understand English? Fado came from the Sordas places in Lisbon, with people singing, some musicians, prostitution, sailors, and Bohemian part of town. I think it's begins with, like, I can check, but begins in the first recordings are from the last years of 19th century. I can send you some via Raјko, some records. The first well-known singer was Svera. We can find there's some songs with Svera perhaps on the YouTube, singing in the beginning of 20th century, mainly in Lisbon and associated with Bohemian. After that, we have two kinds of fado. Let's see, three. The traditional one from Lisbon, the other one from Coimbra. Coimbra was our first university. I think the second most oldest university in Europe after Salamanca, and they play very formal, because the fado in Coimbra were played by doctors, by students, and not the prostitutes, the prostitutes from Cais do Sodré and sailors. And then we have Amália, and Amália changed everything. Amália changed everything when she met a guitarist, António Cheinho. I can write it down, because António Cheinho has a records as a guitarist, Portuguese guitar, traditional Portuguese guitar is great. It's still alive. It's fantastic. She and Cheinho, and then she started singing good poetry, and there was a writer, David Mourão Ferreira, and he started writing beautiful, incredible, saddest songs, letters from fado, and that's the beginning of the culture of fado with Amália, because before that Amália sang lyrics without any importance. And finally, she met a French guy, a pianist, Alain Ullmann. Alain Ullmann was, I think it was a platonic affair. It was a very strong platonic affair. I think he felt in love with a diva. She was a kind of Maria Callas, with a lot of lovers and never married. And there's all the songs with arrangements and the piano of Alain Ullmann. They are absolutely crazy. And then we have a new fado. We have nowadays we have a lot of new singers, and there's a band. They finish yet. The name is Madre Deus. They were very popular in Japan. They were a huge success in Japan, and they start from fado, and they mix popular songs with a contemporary approach, and I recommend also. I can write it down for you if you want.
Drugo pitanje.
Kakva je procena većinskog raspoloženja ljudi u Portugaliji povodom članstva u NATO-u i posebno povodom događaja u Rusiji? A mala preporuka, ako bude analizirao novinarstvo u Srbiji, mislim da je mnogo interesantnije zašto je kako je nego kako je. Hvala.
Okay. Nice question. In the first days after our revolution, the leftist parties and movement start painting on the walls, NATO go home. We had a lot of movements against NATO, against capitalism. That was the Cold War, and some were in love with Washington, some were in love with Moscow, and the others with Beijing, with Peking. And it was nowadays we don't have that concern. Only Communist Party is a neo-Stalinist party. They're still very Stalinist. They try to hide the Stalinism, but they are still very Stalinist. And we
even have a Stalinist symbol.
Yes, they have a Stalinist symbol. Yeah, it's the latest one in Europe, in the European Union. I think they are the latest. They are representative in the parliament, but unfortunately, they lost their base in the factories and in the agriculture. In interior, they were replaced by the far right. The communists, they are getting old. They are passing away, and the memory of the contribution of the communists to the freedom of Portugal, it's nowadays it's very long away. So
What about Ukrainian crisis?
we have a second party, the Bloc Party, the Bloc Party. They is a junction between Maoists and Trotskyists and people from people who left the communist parties. Okay, it's a bunch of former Trotskyists, former Maoists, and former communists, led by a new generation. And that new generation, nowadays, they don't are interested in talk about the first, the second, the third, or the fourth international. They don't talk anymore about Marx and Engels and Paul Lafargue. They don't say they are Marxists. They are hanging between social democratic Olaf Palme discourse, okay, post-war discourse, and trying to rebuild create some neo-Marxism. But they are still anti-capitalists, they are still anti-NATO. They criticize Union European. They are Eurosceptic, but they are not Europhobic. You know the difference? Okay? Okay? We belong to European Union, but we don't want this European Union. Okay. About Ukraine, the majority of the Portuguese people and the Poles say that, and the majority of the parliament is pro-Ukrainian. Most of people don't trust Zelensky because of the past, because of what we did with labor's unions and communists, so on. But no one likes and no one trusts but Putin. Vladimir Putin is probably the most unpopular leader in I'm sure of that. He's the most unpopular leader in Portugal and mostly in the most countries of European Union. And we look at him as a threat. Countries like Portugal start talking about the need of a military service obligatory. It ended in 90s. In Portugal, we thought that we don't need army anymore, and only a few professional armies to go with NATO in hiking with a French boat to some shoots, and generals are trying to convince the politicians and the society that we must militarize because we have a serious threat, and the name of this threat is Putin.
Okay, Alexa, and
of European studies. Thank you for a very interesting lesson. My question is also concerning the media Ukrainian crisis and the role of Telegram, which you mentioned before. So I would like just to say, for example, in Serbia, our media is very much open considering the Ukrainian conflict, in a sense that you can hear both narratives from the West and from the East, from the Western perspective, from the Russian perspective, or television, newspapers. That's not an issue. But in the last couple of years, the Telegram created a revolution in a way how people get their news, let's say uncensored news. And that is especially interesting for the senior population in our country, which is not too much technologically savvy in that way. Even they started to follow the news and choose the channels for receiving the information. So my question is, what is the state of the Telegram in Portugal? Is it seen as a real alternative media to the mainstream media, how people are receiving information, especially concerning the conflict in Ukraine? Can you hear let's say non-Western narratives on the platforms and the channels in Portuguese language, or more or less everything is same as, for example, in the Western media, how the situation is presented? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Two things. The first one is in Portugal we only have access to one part. It's the same in Moscow. It's probably the first war that journalists were not allowed to go to one side or the other. Probably Iraq was the same. Yes, Iraq was the same. But it's a kind of war where it's impossible to do real journalism, and you saw that. Some of them were killed near the front in the Ukrainian side. The Telegram is not so used in Portugal. The alternative source, the main alternative source in Portugal is Al Jazeera. Yes, is Al Jazeera. You can see Al Jazeera on the TV or follow Al Jazeera on the social media. Yes, Al Jazeera for some persons is the best one. And there's a concept nowadays that is avoiding news. People are fed up with. We're fed up with 2 years of the pandemic, with news during 24 hours per day about virus. When we thought we can rest a little, and then after that appears the Ukrainian, and the Pulse says that the readers are not anymore interested in that kind of news, and they prefer other news. When you talk about Telegram, you must be careful about what you are talking about. You are not talking about good journalism. I think Guardian makes a good journalism. Telegraph, no. I think sometimes New York Times do it well, sometimes not. Sometimes they I saw you a few days ago a news about how they create a filter to some words, terrorism and so on, and they try to be acceptic. You are talking about personal channels. You are about journalism citizen. I don't know if you can call it journalism. It's another kind of intermediation. Journalist intermediation, it means how to look for information, to treat information, to expose information with some techniques, without personal interests, without a vision of opinion public. I think you cannot apply those ideas to some channels, because the channels they are very narrow. You live in a corridor with the same opinion. It's very strange, because in my newspaper we publish online and on print edition different opinions against Putin or pro Putin, and it's difficult to the readers to admit the idea of plurality, the idea of a society with different or space, a common space with different ideas. And some readers accuse us, you are a leftist paper or you are a right paper. It's so strange. So I don't believe in most of those channels, because I must believe in the sources. Okay, I believe in the sources that came from Gaza or came from Cisjordania. Why? Because they work for Reuters, they work for AP, for AFP. Okay, I know they belong to capitalist economies, societies, and so on, but they have professional code, they have techniques, they have ethics. Without these agencies on the territory on Gaza, it was a disaster.
First of all, thank you for the enlightening presentation. I am Tarkalaycı. I am a PhD candidate of international relations in Turkey. I am a guest trainee here. I was wondering if there was a government mechanism in Portugal to cope with international propaganda and disinformation surrounding the international crisis, such as Ukraine or Gaza. I mean, or in general, how do European governments respond to the international propaganda and disinformation?
You understood?
Yeah, it's about
countering international propaganda is in a government sense.
No, there's not any organization between states, countries, even newspapers against disinformation. The papers and televisions, they are trying to create shows and sections with where they try to reveal the fake news. Personally, I think that we must use the intelligence artificial with advantage to add to our back office functions to avoid fake news, repetitions, and so on, to certificate our production as there's no plagium, there's no fake news in my newspaper. What happens is it's the opposite. There's a lot of well-organized machines to produce very easily disinformation. They are coming from Russia, and we know that in some European elections, and the far right. There's an international of the right in this moment with money. Steve Bannon, the former wing arm of Trump, he was in Italy with the money. He was in a monastery to try to build a connection between all the parties, and I think
Some people call it the Black International.
Black International, yeah, and I think it works. And the parties, the right parties, they are trying to build that connection, even spreading the mistakes against Arabs, Muslims, refugees, immigrants, and they do it without any regret. It will be surprise, perhaps in the next European elections, because I'm waiting for an uprise of the party rights in Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, of course, Germany. It will be very dangerous in Germany, Hungary, of course, and Poland. Donald Tusk is balancing. So, in the European Parliament, you have 4 blocks: the Popular Bloc, the Social Democratic Bloc, and 2 blocks of the right wing. They will increase a lot. If they join, they will be the second bloc. That means that you will be commissaries, that you will be parliament president with a German post-Nazi in charge. So we need to fight against disinformation, and we need to fight this uprising of far right pro-Nazi.
Maria Marsenic from Institute of European Studies. Thank you for your very interesting lecture. I'm interested in your opinion whether woke movement has taken roots in Portuguese society, and if it did, in which areas of social life it manifests the most. About woke movement related to questions of social justice, racism, homophobia, sexism, and so on. Yes, related with the cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel culture. Yeah, let me say. It's difficult to talk about that, but it's an interesting question. It's the first time someone asked me something about that.
She's PhD is going to be about that. So.
Two or three episodes. Our leftist parties and movements, LGBT movements, feminist movements, trans movements, they are strong. They spread the message very frontally. Some people says that it was bad for the parties because, or for the left, because they forgot the class, the discourse about the fight against the class, and in order to speak about the identity. And the ouch, the culmination of this was election of a nigger deputy. And como é que se diz gaga? Okay. She was the first deputy black woman, black in parliament, and when she was very feminist. She is a accessor, his first principal accessor. In the first day, went to the parliament with a skirt. Okay, with a skirt. It was a scandal for the traditional and conservative parties and society. And when she arrived, her agenda was a woman black agenda, and they start putting on question the paintings on the wall with Vasco da Gama searching the way to India, and the colonization of the Brazil, and the beautiful black kids, slaves in Angola, and things like that. And there was a collision between her discourse and the other discourse, and it was important because it was a collision in the parliament. Okay. Now we after that we start listening the opposite discourse against the leftists. They want to cancel everything. They want to cancel the white guys, the masculinity. They want, we can say anymore, we must change the language. Then we start talking about the toilets in schools for trans. We start talking about the gender equality, and nowadays the right-wing parties try to avoid and to eliminate some of these progressive measures. And it started with new government. We have new government since 1 month ago, perhaps. And they start to change the symbol, the logo of the government. Only the logo. It was not the country, the flag of the country, because the logo didn't have the symbols of the flag. The symbols of the flag are the castles that we need to fight against Spanish and the French troops, or the esfera that means our the sphere that means our imperium overseas, and the salvation, and they confuse the flag with a simple logo because they think that was cancelment without cancelment. So the right is cancel the discourse of left, but in the past they accused them of cancelment. So we are in the fight of cancelment.
I'm sorry. I'm interested about how society, what society thinks about that. Are they criticizing it, or they're accepting it, or are they okay with that?
We are very polarized right now. We are polarized. We have elections. It's a funny and tragic and sad story. Yeah. We had a government with till November we had a majority with the Socialist Party. They won the election and 4 years of legislature. They have all the conditions to rule the world. Okay. And it was the times it was fine. It was fine, but they have two options: or respect the rules of Union or European of deficit or public debt, or increase the salaries of medicines, nurseries. Soldiers, professors, they were striking because the inflation again after the war in Ukraine and the gentrification of our main cities. We have a lot of tourism. We have a lot of gentrification. We have a lot of Americans living in our country. It's impossible to live in town, Brits as well. It's impossible, and the salaries now are very, very low. So the strikes and the rules, the option was the rules, but there was a mistake. Our prime minister, I trust him. I think it's not a corruption guy, but is a cabinet chief. No. I'm speaking Antonio Costa. Costa is it was prime minister, but till November he is dismissed because he's chief of cabinet, has 25,000 euros in books and box of wines in his cabinet. So it was the beginning of collapse of 4 years of majority. It's crazy. So what happened left was a new election, and Luis Montenegro from Social Democratic Party won the election.
But it's right-wing party.
It was a right-wing party, yeah. Won the election with a difference of 50,000 votes between them and Socialist Party. But we had the third bloc, 28% for social PST, 28% for PS Socialists, and 20% per Chega, our right. So we have three blocks. It's impossible to rule the parliament, and the game is will be what happens next. The government will need support. No one wants to need support because the other two want to be the opposition. So we are in crisis times, and I don't know what will happen. Probably new elections very soon. It's not so different nowadays than the Serbian scenery.
Yes. Yes, true. Thank you for your lecture, and I want to ask you. I'm Slobodan Zečić from Institute of European Studies. What is the most influenced journal? It's yours in Portugal. What is the most influenced television station? It is the public television. With the changes of government, if they change the president of the public television, that's also interesting. Who ruling the media now in Portugal? Who is the most important? What is the political party who get the media and the influence on the media?
We are the most influential newspaper, Pублика, because we have readers on the parliament and we have readers on the presidential palace. Because of that, because we are not the most influential among the people. We are not the most popular. We are is Correio da Manhã. We are very elitist. Okay, so we are very elitist. For the most influential for the people without political issues is a popular newspaper with a lot of beautiful girls, Cristiano Ronaldo, day in, day out. Okay, it's the same everywhere. It's a tabloid. It's a tabloid. It's a tabloid. Yeah, it's a tabloid. The public television is the most RTP. It's the most serious channel. It's the most serial news. They have the most serial news. They don't respect political agenda. They are independent. The government changed the editor-in-chief is the same. There was no change. No one. That was traditional till 90s. No one cares about that. No one. It's impossible now to the new government changing the directors, the editors-in-chief of the radio, television, public. It's not acceptable.
I just wanted to add that RTP or RTP is still majority held by the state. It was funded by the state.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Now I have maybe two questions.
Two more questions.
Yeah, I will use now my position.
Okay.
Once again, thank you very much. I mean, it was really a great pleasure to listen all those things and important information. And I think that we had the opportunity to learn so many things. The question number one, can you tell us something more about the actual position of the Roman Catholic Church in the Portuguese society and in the Portuguese public life? Because you and I know that a year ago there was a big affair against Catholic Church, rapists inside of that institution, etc. And the second question is there any some kind of nostalgia for the period of Estado Novo, the new state, the Salazar's period.
Like a Jugo nostalgia.
Yeah, because you asked me so much about
What's
the
your
Yugo
nostalgia?
nostalgia. Yeah, and I must add one more thing.
Yeah. I deserve it.
Yeah, I had the privilege to give an pretty much big interview to the Público, not only for the website but also for the printed edition, and really it was a pleasure and it was a privilege, and
With a photo on the front page. Yeah.
yes. So that was a great
You are a
experience.
success in Portugal.
Well, but the good thing was the fact that João from the embassy called me and told me, I
Really?
saw you in the Público. It's a great thing. So, okay, can you tell us something more about my question?
The Catholic Church is not so strong as was in the past. They were very influential. Sometimes they made politicians from the inside the church against abortion, trying to suggest to vote in some parties. They were very active after revolution. They were afraid and they were against the leftist party, especially against the Communist Party. I think they are weak nowadays, and they are weak for two main reasons. The scandal with pedophilia was a scandal they tried to hide, and the young people, I think they don't care anymore. And as in other South countries, Portuguese people goes less and less to the church at the Sunday. Less and less people baptize their children, or married in church. Yes, or only civil marriage. Even without civil marriage, they are important in some interior areas where the priest is still important in communities without a strong civil society. Very small villages where the priest has power yet, and they are very shut down in the last years. They don't speak much more about euthanasia, the approval of a law, but they have a strong ally because our president, Republic president, is a Catholic president and is a president Catholic, and they speak for them. And the other question is about the Salazarism. Nostalgia. We made a huge mistake. We don't teach in the last two generations what we must teach it about our history, recently history. It's almost the same. We at the school, the children still learn about the Imperial, Vasco da Gama, Camões, the ships, the everything, but they don't know nothing about the contemporary history after Second World War. Okay, and it's strange, because there's a lack of information, a political information, that's about those years, and that is important to an attitude and to take opinions right now. a recent poll said that 47 percentage average of that pool accepts a leader in Portugal without elections. I think there's a moving transition with a new generation who don't care about the past. They were born in democracy. They don't know nothing about Salazarism. They don't know nothing about the new state. It's policy about the policy piece. They don't know nothing about those years. It's the guilty is the guilty of their fathers, of their generation, my generation, about the government, the education ministry, and it's the same as if you in your schools don't talk about the past from Tito till those years.
You're right.
And it's a mess. There's not nostalgia about Salazarism among the oldest. There's a belief among the youngest, between guys, about the need or the advantage of a strong state, strong government, probably machist, probably less democratic, but with fighting the corruption. That's a populist discourse everywhere, from Argentina, from Milei to Meloni. We have two kind of persons. We have the elite. The elite is composed by journalists and intellectuals and mainly politicians on the TV. And we have the people, and the people are virtuous, are pure. And the elite is it's saddest and the dark, the negative, yeah. And these opinions against democracy, that's a tendency, that's a trendy to believe in the good things about the power and the bad things about the elite.
Yeah,
it's populism.
And Chega is taking the advantage of it. So
That's the discourse of Chega. They are very intelligent and clever, spreading that discourse very shortly and very funny through TikTok and Instagram, about social media. People don't care about intermediation of media. They don't go to newspapers and websites, and it's easy to create a community, a closed community that believes in fake news.
If we don't have any more questions, a little bit Portuguese, right? Caro Amilkar, muito obrigado uma vez e espero que vamos continuar a nossa cooperação em futuro.
Muito bem, obrigadíssimo.